The smoke screens are crazy. And one of them that keeps coming up seems to be like the quarterback character assassination thing.
Yeah.
Last year was CJ didn't go to Peyton's camp. And I can't think of a young quarterback that I've ever seen that's had more between the ears than this guy. I mean, like,
Yeah.
can't figure out one
Crazy.
that's had more. I like him, Burrow, guys like that. I put him in the same class of human being walking in the league. Caleb, I talked to Ryan Clark. He came to our golf tournament this week, and he was like, man, we had Caleb on the pivot this week. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch
I saw
that,
some clips. I just saw some
yeah.
clips. Yeah.
And Rye was like, I really liked him. Like, I was like really blown away by him. I watched at least 5 people through the course of the event make a comment alluding to the fact that they don't buy the Caleb Williams thing. And Ryan had to explain to them, kind of the conversation that they had and why he thinks differently. I feel like Caleb had the bullseye on his back from the beginning. Is it gamesmanship from other teams? Is it just the media sowing dissent? Or is it just the way it is when a guy cries after a game in public or when he paints his nails? Like, are we going to get this every year when it comes to pick one quarterback out of the top 3 to 4 quarterbacks?
I think there's a lot of different things in play there. I think some of it is, look, there's like a USC thing that some people have where they're just like, oh, it's a USC. It's like they're rich, spoiled. They're soft. They're not tough. Like that whole thing has followed USC forever. Even when USC was winning national championships, I was in scouting and you hear it. People say that. So you've got some of that mixed in. You've got just the fact of he was, he's like first to market, right? Like of anybody in this entire draft, like we knew about him early and identified him as this great player. So he gets put up, and then it's like, well, where else is for him to go? Like we're just going to shoot arrows at him the whole time.
Yeah, we got to talk about something.
Yeah, and then you also have like I've posed this question because I know like I get asked about this all the time, like the fingernails and like all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, dude, like these generations are just going to constantly change. I'm like, you what would happen if you went to like Rick Mahorn and asked him what he thought of the way that today's NBA players enter into games with what they're wearing and stuff like that?
No question.
You know what I mean? Like it all changes, and it's just get used to it. I remember being in the draft room, like when I first started drafting when I got in the league in 2003, we had an older scout who was probably in his early 70s. And like he was talking about guys having tattoos, and I'm like,
right.
Like what is going on? Like
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna have tattoos here. Like it's just I think that's part of that older generation that just has a tougher time with that. But in talking, first of all, Caleb's been my top guy the whole time. That hasn't changed for me. I think he's a pretty incredible talent. And talking to the Bears people, I said, give me one thing about him that you've learned like through this process of, getting to know him from, when the season ended to now. And they said, this guy's been able to tune out the chaos, like unbelievable ability to tune that out. And he said, like, he's been in it this whole year. Like everybody's coming after him, all this attention. And he said, like, he has kind of remained unflappable. And he said, we talked to all of his teammates, not only from USC that we could talk to, we went and talked to everybody at Oklahoma. And he's like, it's not often you say this about any player because somebody's got an enemy somewhere. Yeah. It's like this guy's teammates love him. You think the kids at Oklahoma have any reason to lie there? Like he left them. He's not even on their team. And they're like, they love him. They rave about him.
Yeah, I can't find anything that I really dislike about him personally. My trepidation is the same as it is every year, picking a quarterback up high. You just don't know. Yeah. And then the fact that I think on the football field, my thing has been, hey, on being on schedule, which is something when people critique him for being off schedule, what are they critiquing, Daniel?
Yeah. So this is a good conversation to have because you can't live like that in the NFL. You've got to be able to get the ball out of your hands. I use the phrase, you can't get bored with completions, hey, if they're going to give me the shallow, I've just got to take it. I can't just be constantly big play hunting. The thing that I try to share though is when you watch him, first of all, in 22, you saw a lot more of that. And he did that. Their offensive line was at least adequate in 22. This year was really bad. So you had a couple different things happening. You don't have Addison, who's a first round receiver that you had the year before. So your weapons aren't quite as good, but more than anything else, it was the offensive line. And against that offense, a lot of teams like to rush 3 and drop 8. So when you're doing that, Now think about this. I watched his pressure reel. There's a lot of pressures in a 3-man rush, and I'm like, dude, what do you like? I don't know what you're supposed to do here. Like, you've got to try and get away from a free rusher. They're dropping 8 guys into coverage, and then that led to him some of the circus stuff, and he got himself in trouble. The other side of it was maybe subconsciously, I don't know that he was thinking this way, but every time when you're watching tape, every new series is another 7 points on the other side of the board. And it's like, dude, we have to score touchdowns on every series to have a chance, to win this game. So he was trying to get it. He was trying to get it 20 and 40 yards at a time instead of just taking, what's there. I think that's fixable. I do, because I've seen him do it in 22. I've seen him be a little bit more under control. And how many times do we see it where we see a guy who plays with, unbelievable talent in college, and we're like, man, this is going to be an adjustment. You're going to a bad team. The offensive line is going to be worse. Your weapons are going to be worse. Your defense is going to be worse. And I know we're talking college and the NFL, but he's going to be more protected with the Bears offensive line than he was at SC. He's going to be throwing, competition-wise, what he has and who he's playing against is going to be pretty solid for him in his favor with Keenan and DJ Moore. And his defense is not going to be giving up a zillion points where he feels that pressure that I got to go out and score on every single drive.